Tim, I'd like to ask a little bit about what your hopes for are tomorrow and on Wednesday. This was our first event, and I think it's been really quite amazing with the list of speakers that have graced us. But what are your hopes about the next couple days and then on into the next year? What do you want to accomplish with the Blue Marble Week?
Yeah. So it's funny, I just got off before this talking with California Polytechnical Institute. And one of the things we're talking about is the idea that as a industry, there are exciting events about space, but there's not an ongoing talk, an ongoing sort of momentum to communities. They revolve around singular events that are really big and really exciting. And that is fine. It's been good. There's been these launches or recoveries or landings. And that's how the industry has been our entire time in space. But just like we don't sit at the airport waiting for loved ones to get home and waving banners anymore, because that's just what you do, you fly. At some point, as an industry, there needs to be a transition to a regular, boring routine of events and talking and interacting and community building. And so the two-part answer to your two-part question is, over the next couple of days, my hope is that we hear from, as you put it very well, these highly qualified, well-spoken experts on what does the space economy look like when America chooses to lead? What happens in the next 4 years, in the next 10 years, in the next 15 years, when we, as a country, make the decision to invest? And then through this series of events, it's my hope that we build a community of doers who are excited that they are bridging the gap between the exciting old space and the monotony of building homes and lives in an easy space.
So I've had the pleasure of knowing Tim for about 10 years. And I just want to say it's been a crazy 10 years. He's always full of surprises. We first met in the Army Special Ops Intel world. That's where he was a dynamic and standout Intel officer. He then went from there to do bigger and better things with the CIA, where he focused on international affairs, then ultimately landing in the world of space and associated threats. Early on, when I first met him, I could tell that he was a standout as a cerebral, driven, and sometimes frustrated individual. And I say frustrated because he was never one to kind of go along with the norms, just to go along to get along. He was typically ruffling feathers, challenging those norms and asking the tough questions that are part of what has brought him to where he is today, which is seeking to broaden space infrastructure development and providing the space problem set with adjustable and realistic solution. I won't steal all this thunder, so I'll go ahead and let Tim share a little bit more about what we're doing at the foundation and a little bit more about himself. Tim?
We went into this, we being Michael and I, with a plan for a Silicon Valley meets TED event where speakers would give short, focused talks on big ideas that were distilled into understandable chunks. And I remember telling Michael early on, success is not the number of people in the live event. It's not the number of viewers on our live stream. It is the quality of the content we get, because ultimately what the people say, how they say it, and who says it, we're going to take and deliver to policymakers on the Hill, at regulatory agencies, and in the incoming administration, and be able to say, look, you've read your entire life that space is science fiction. We can change that. It doesn't have to be. It will remain science fiction so long as you, policymaker, decision maker, let it stay that way. And already, with less than a third of the speakers having gone, we already have dozens of messages that can be delivered, ranging from the workforce to implement a space economy and to implement a multi-trillion-dollar space economy exists in America now. And the certification to get them ready is a lot less than you think. The regulatory hurdles to doing this are less than you think. And so as an event, Blue Marble Week, this inaugural event in what will be a 12-month series of webinars, has already been off to a good start, thanks to the efforts of Michael Lane and his team, to Leo, Alana, Lila over here at the foundation, and speakers like Lieutenant General Quast, who is about to speak. We all, the speakers and you attendees alike, are united in the idea that space should be for everyone, and not in the sort of huggy, squishy, feely sort of way that you hear talked about on some cheap rendition of a science fiction movie, but in the sort of idea that America once made the world safe for democracy. We believe that America makes the world, and in this case, space, a better place when we do lead. And it's not that we go it alone, it's that we make it a safe place, an innovative place, and we assume some of the risk and a lot of the work in securing access, funding, sustainment, and ultimately creating the sort of environment that we all want to see. You'll hear from General Quast, our last keynote speaker, here shortly. And then tomorrow, we're going to pick it up again, talking in more detail about some of the proposals we have here at the foundation for infrastructure development and the mechanics of how do we get that done. It's ultimately disturbingly similar and shockingly different from a lot of the pitches that many of the small business owners have no doubt done to venture capitalists and other financiers. Ultimately, though, what we seek is a organization that can lead in risk mitigation, in integrating transportation networks, and establishing the sort of community of thought leaders next to implementers that has worked so well across industry. And as we've seen, at least many of us with prior military experience have seen, in the sort of fusion cells where operations officers sit next to analysts who sit next to logisticians, all of them in the same space, living, breathing, and working together and finding new ways of doing and thinking about things. And so with our proposal, we're looking to have it all. Our pitch is that on the ground, there's dozens of agencies handling the regulations, the implementation, and the investment in infrastructure. Isn't it time space is treated similarly? And so as we look to the next administration and beyond, it's our message to Congress, to industry, and to the American people that the days of space being hard are done. And they're done because we're going to space. I was born in Alaska, which to many people is almost as alien as somebody saying they were born in space. And Alaska is always thought of as a hard place to live. And it's not because of anything special about the place. It's just because there's not infrastructure and people there. It's hard when there's not heaters to warm you in the winter. It's not hard if you have food and shelter. And in that vein, it's time we make space easy so that our kids and their kids can wonder why we complain about walking uphill to space in the snow and it somehow being uphill both ways. Sorry, that was a bad joke about Alaska where it was always an uphill walk to school, and it somehow managed to be the worst dad joke of all time. But as we go and close out today, I want to introduce Lieutenant General retired Stephen Quast. Lieutenant General Quast has earned every bit of the respect that he has offered, whether it was operational command or leading the training of the next generations at Air University. Lieutenant General Quast always looked for ways to make the future better in the organizations he served in. And it truly is an honor for us to have him here today. And I look forward to hearing what he has to say.